The Kankakee County Board meeting for September 12th, 2023. We'll start out with the invocation by John Featherling.
Bringing us together today. We ask that you give us the knowledge and the strength to continue to serve the people of Kankakee County. We rely upon your guidance to help us provide a peaceful, safe, and meaningful life for our residents. We ask that you watch over our police officers, firefighters, and paramedics as they carry out their very difficult job protecting the county. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start with roll call.
Mr. Hess. Mr. Tholen. Mrs. Polk. Mr. Snipes. Mr. Seroy. Mrs. Weber. Mrs. Parker.
Present.
Mr. Fairfield.
Present.
Mr. Carrico.
Present.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Present.
Mr. Swanson.
Present.
Mr. Featherling.
Present.
Mr. Donnell. Mr. Miller.
Present.
Mr. Long.
Present.
Mr. Kirkstra.
Present.
Mr. Hunter.
Present.
Mr. Smith. Mr. Alexander Hildebrand.
Present.
Ms. Foster.
Present.
Ms. Andrade.
Present.
Ms. Armour Earps. Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Monday.
Present.
Ms. Rittman-Hickemi. Mr. Scanlon.
Present.
Ms. Turner.
Present.
Mr. Wheeler.
We have a quorum. And can we have a motion to admit Tinker Parker into the meeting? Motion by Eckhoff, second by Swanson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. It appears we do have one public comment today by Stephen Bell out of Kankakee. If you would like to come up to the back mic here.
Hello. Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. This is for KCBA case 2305. It's a variance application that'll come up today. This regards a fence that was put up at our property. The whole issue that we brought the variance to that seemed to get disregarded, I just want to make sure that I made a point that the house actually faces the road in a weird direction. The front of the house faces away from the road so that we don't have the use of the backyard. So the reason the variance came up, I don't know. You guys are looking for a hardship, you're looking for different things. When they came up, the variance board agreed with us as far as a 4-to-1 vote or something like that. But the one thing they came up with was the finding of the facts. They argued the finding of the facts and didn't want to go ahead with it. So I'd like to, I don't know how to appeal the finding of the facts, but they weren't correct, and that's what they wanted to go to get straightened out. I don't know that whole process, but it's going to come before you guys today, and I just want to make sure that we understand that the highway on our thing is here. The house faces away from the highway, and our rear yard is against the highway, and that's what we're trying to fence in. The original permit was not pulled because we were replacing an existing fence in this area. There was already inspectors on site, and then we were told, and it was flagged to go ahead and pull the permit. So we did that, and then we applied for the variance, realizing that our new fence would be too tall. So the house was built back in 1930 when the roadway was much different. And I just want you to look at the whole thing, that's all, this time. So last time it kind of got a little overlooked at the different facts and the way it is. So thank you.
Thank you. It doesn't appear there's any vacancy appointments, any presentations, no proclamations or certificates of appreciation. So I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of last meeting, August 9th and August 23rd, 2023. Featherling with the first, Ashcraft with the second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. And next we have the Claims Committee report for July 2023.
Mr. Chairman and members of the County Board, your Committee on County Claims would beg leave to report they have examined the following claims presented and recommend payment. The clerk is hereby authorized and directed to issue orders to the several claimants. Total for the month of July 2023, $9,499,169.94.
Can I have a motion to approve? Eckhoff, Ashcraft with the second. All those in favor say, roll call.
Mr. Hess. Mr. Snipes. Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield. Mr. Carrico. Mr. Eckhoff. Mr. Swanson. Mr. Featherling. Mr. Miller. Mr. Long. Mr. Kirkstra. Mr. Hunter. Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster. Ms. Andrade. Ms. Armour Earps. Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Monday. Mr. Scanlon. Ms. Turner.
Motion carries. Next up, we have the department reports.
County Collector's Report for July 2023. Total cash and bank and investments, $32,842,159.56. The County Treasurer's Monthly Report for month ending July 31st, 2023. The tax operating account at First American Bank, the ending balance is $30,651,819.35. The tax collection account at First American Bank, the ending balance is $1,151,284.08. The tax e-pay account at First American Bank, the ending balance is $1,039,056.13. Coroner's Monthly Report for July 2023. Total calls 94. Coroner's cases 23, autopsies 10, toxicology 10, 1 donation, 41 hospice, 30 referrals, 60 cremations, 5 x-rays, 3 outside x-rays, 8 pending. The coroner's income summary report for July 2023, total of $15,502.27. Circuit clerk cash book for month ending July 2023, total dispersed $320,133.46. Recorder's monthly report for July 2023, disbursement fees paid to the county treasurer of $147,282.15. County clerk's monthly report for July 2023, total of $22,525.82. The monthly building division report for July 2023, total permits of 74, total fees of $74,724. The animal control monthly report for July 2023, total of $31,787. The IPTIP building fund is $853.92. Total animals handled 84. And the monthly resolution list for September 2023, total to the county of $8,006.44.
Can I have a motion to combine and approve along with the first, Miller with the second? Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And then can we have a motion to admit Mr. Wheeler for the entire month on Zoom? Hunter with the first, Featherling with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. Next, we have the committee presentations and resolution. We have the consent agenda. Is there anything that should be removed from the consent agenda? Just look it over for a second. And then I'll ask a second time, is there anything that should be removed? All right, Dan, I guess we'll have you read those into the record.
The reappointment of Carol Weber to the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee, and the declaration and disposal of surplus and unwanted equipment for the Kankakee County Sheriff's Department.
And can I have a motion to combine and approve along with the first, Featherling with the second? Roll call.
Mr. Hess. Mr. Snipes. Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield. Mr. Carrico. Mr. Eckhoff. Mr. Swanson. Mr. Featherling. Mr. Miller. Mr. Long. Mr. Kirkstra. Mr. Hunter. Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster. Ms. Andrade. Ms. Armour Earps. Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Monday. Mr. Scanlon. Ms. Turner. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye.
And then we have a question by Mr. Hunter.
Not necessarily a question, but I got a text from Dr. Polk. She's having difficulties getting on. She's got a new phone, so I just want to make that part of the record.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Next, we have PZA. A resolution of Kankakee County. Oh, okay. All right. No, you're good. Taking over Dan's job here.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois, for Kankakee County adopting the 2023 Kankakee County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan.
Can I have a motion and a second? First by Swanson, second by Featherling. And then any questions for Dell?
This is a culmination of about a year-long process to update our natural hazard mitigation plan, which was completed, I think, about a month ago. We sent it off to FEMA and IEMA to have their review on it, and they sent back our letter of approved pending adoption. So once the county board adopts it, our plan is approved. If you would like, our consultant is on the Zoom that can give you a little presentation about it. Is anybody interested in that? It's Andrea Bostwick with American Environmental. Andrea?
Hello.
Hello.
I lost audio for a little bit.
I thought it was just me. I guess everybody. Tinker, did you lose audio? Yeah, we are online, which tells me Zoom, or maybe Zoom lost audio.
What was the question? Or did you want me to do my presentation?
If you could, yes.
Okay. I will share my screen and give you a recap here. Oh. It appears that the sharing is disabled.
It should be fixed now.
Okay. There we go. Thank you. All right, so good morning. My name is Andrea Bostwick. I'm the Emergency Management Services Manager for American Environmental. The county hired us to help them update their hazard mitigation plan. I'm going to give you just a brief overview of the entire process. So one of the first things is, what are we talking about when we say a natural hazard mitigation plan? Well, a natural hazard mitigation plan details the natural hazard events that have previously impacted the county, and then it identifies activities and projects that reduce the risk to people and property from those hazards before an event occurs. So why did the county update its hazard mitigation plan? Well, the county updated its plan in order to become eligible for federal mitigation assistance funds to implement the projects and activities that are identified in the plan. So in order to access certain types of non-emergency disaster assistance, jurisdictions must be a participant in a current FEMA-approved hazard mitigation plan. So what's included in the plan itself? Well, the task force chose to include the following hazards in the plan. So we did severe summer storms, which includes thunderstorms with damaging winds, hail, lightning, floods, both flash flood and riverine, severe winter storms, ice, hail, or ice, sleet, and snow, excessive heat, extreme cold, tornadoes, drought, wildfires, dam failures, and earthquakes. Those were the hazards that were included. The plan itself includes sections on jurisdictional demographics and capabilities, the planning process, the risk assessment of the natural hazards, a mitigation strategy, which includes jurisdiction-specific mitigation action lists, and then a section on plan maintenance and adoption. So the majority of the plan update is devoted to the risk assessment and the mitigation strategy. So the risk assessment identifies the natural hazards that pose a threat to the county and includes a profile on each of these, which describes past occurrences, reported damages, the likelihood of future occurrences, as well as a vulnerability analysis that estimates potential impacts. The mitigation strategy is the heart of the document. It lists the projects and activities identified by each of the participating jurisdictions to reduce those potential loss of life and property damages that results from the natural hazards that were identified in the risk assessment. So the plan process, the plan was developed through the Kankakee County Regional Planning Commission and the Kankakee County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazard Mitigation Advisory Task Force. The task force included representatives from each of the participating jurisdictions, as well as agricultural, education, emergency services, healthcare, planning, and social services. All of the municipalities, townships, and fire protection districts within the county were invited to participate as part of this process, as well as the Regional Office of Education. So the task force met 5 times between May 2022 and May of 2023 to provide input on the plan update. So a total of 16 jurisdictions were specifically identified in the plan. These are the jurisdictions who sought plan approval and are eligible to apply for those mitigation project funds. And there's an entire list here. You can see it includes Aroma Park, Ascension St. Mary, Bourbonnais Fire, Bourbonis Township, Bradley, Grant Park, Hopkins Park, the city of Kankakee, the county, of course, Kankakee Community College, Manteno Fire, Moments Fire, Riverside Medical, and then Union Hill. So a public forum was held on May 31st to present the plan update for public review and comment. So the plan was posted on the county's website and paper copies were made available at the planning department office. A 2-week public comment period followed the public forum so that those who were unable to come and attend were able to provide comments if they would like. The plan update was submitted to AIMA and FEMA for review on June 16th. We received word from FEMA on August 4th that the plan update had received conditional approval pending adoption. So, in order to receive final approval of the plan update and become eligible for those mitigation project funds, each of the participating jurisdictions, including the county, must formally adopt the plan by resolution. That's why Delbert has brought the plan before you today. We have a draft adoption resolution, which was modeled on the sample adoption resolution from FEMA's guidance documents. Each of the participating jurisdictions was provided that. Once we get all of the adoption resolutions back from the participants, we'll submit those to AIMA and FEMA to obtain the final approval letter. The final approval letter is what starts the clock on the next plan update. By law, the plan must be reviewed, revised, and resubmitted to AIMA and FEMA at least once every 5 years for the jurisdictions to remain eligible for those mitigation project funds. So that's where we're at today.
Thank you very much. I believe we already have a motion and a second, so we just need a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed,
Aye.
same sign. Okay. Next, we have ZBA case 23-05.
Kelly, if you could switch.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois regarding ZBA case 23-05, variance to section 121-285, fence height and type, and section 24 of Limestone Township.
Okay. All right, this is a request for a variance for a to have a 6-foot privacy fence in the front yard of a home at 1926A West Illinois Route 17, which is highlighted in red on the map on the screen. You can see the house is on the kind of in the northeast corner to the right of the map. If you and there was a chain link fence around that portion of the property, and our inspectors found the owners putting up the privacy fence without a permit. It was red tagged, and it was found that the privacy fence is in the front yard. You're only allowed to have a 6-foot solid fence behind the front wall of the main structure. So you can come up to the front wall on both sides. If you switch to the next slide. Okay, so based on where that house is, this blows it up a little bit more. That little brown square down in the right, lower right there is the house. So by the county's ordinance, privacy fence on that property could go anywhere that's outlined in red. Anything in blue has to be a 4-foot tall maximum fence and 60% open. So the owners decided to ask for a variance to keep the partially built privacy fence in the blue area where they began building it. It went to the zoning board on August 7th, and with a vote of 3-2, 3 to approve, 2 to deny. Since it did not get 4 concurring votes, there was no recommendation made. So it went before planning and zoning, and it was determined that no hardship existed because they still have other options, such as the red area, to put the privacy fence like everyone else has. And so they recommend denial based on no hardship, which is finding of fact number 1.
Can I have a motion and a second to deny ZBA case 23-05? First Featherling, second Fairfield. All any questions? Hunter?
Dover, what's your expert opinion?
I think if you approved it, you would be setting quite a precedence. It's really up to the board. Do you want to see privacy fences all the way up and down our roadways?
Any more questions? Echo?
Number 9. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I remember correctly, in PZA, they didn't go ahead and pull a permit, and we don't know how deep they went ahead and filled those holes and what they did, correct?
That is correct. This all started with a red tag because there was no permit on the fence.
So,
had they came in for a permit, they would have been informed that they couldn't put the fence where they wanted to.
thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Snipes.
Need to understand something clearly.
Please speak into the mic.
I'm doing that. I need to see something. The house is located where?
Almost where your hands are. That brown square right below your hands. Go down a little bit. Right there. That's the house.
Okay. And you say this is facing
Route,
this way off the road.
Route 113 is to the north. It's not quite lined up with 113. I mean, it's not parallel to it. It's a little more squared off. You drive in the driveway, and the backyard is a parking area with a garage behind the house.
Which is back this way.
Yeah, go down, yes.
Okay, down here.
Down there. That's the garage and the parking area.
And the front is kind of right here.
No, the front of the house is up in the blue.
Up in
towards the road, yes.
So this is going this way.
By definition, everything in the outlined in blue is the front yard to that house.
Okay.
It's from the front wall of the house extended to both side yard property lines.
Okay. My concern is, while I do want to, I need to stay within our particular guidelines, I have some reservations in that in the initial state, there was a 3-2 vote.
Mm-hmm.
So that meant at least 2 of the 5 thought that they should. So it only passed by a 1 deciding vote.
No, 2 thought they shouldn't.
2 thought that they shouldn't, 2 thought that they should, and then, well, 3 thought that they
3
should.
thought that they should, 2 thought they should.
And so as a result, it's like 1. And I would, based upon their information, I would feel comfortable if we're not going to grant it, to recommit this back to committee, because it's in the committee that this decision was made, and because it was a close decision, given the information you gave, which I'm sure they have privy of, that you want to set a precedence here, but there's no, looks like there's no public safety issue here other than just aesthetic.
There certainly could be. When you put the fence up alongside the driveway, there certainly could be.
So it's just an aesthetic from the road because they want it open. Again, I would probably say to make it more well thought out before the county board makes a decision, that we could recommit, because we can send it back to the committee and let them kind of revisit this before we just come and hammer with a no.
Well, planning and zoning did make a decision. Zoning board was unable to make a recommendation.
Right.
But the planning and zoning committee that you want to send it back to did make a decision. Their recommendation is to deny.
They're the appeal process, correct?
What's that?
They're the appeal process after the initial planning and zoning meeting, correct?
An appeal process.
Where did this process go to first? Where they
Zoning
had
Board of Appeals.
Zoning Board of Appeals. So they didn't get, the decision was no recommendation, so it went to the planning. That was the next appeal step, right?
The next step was planning and zoning.
And the next step is to
which
the
heard
board.
the information from zoning board and made their own decision.
And what I'm saying is that I would like it to be referred back to the
Now,
committee.
it's the county board's turn to hear the information as presented from both of those boards and make your own decision.
Right, and the county board does have the right to recommit it back to committee if they so choose, though.
Well, there's a motion on the floor, so that would have to be satisfied first.
I understand the process. I'm just saying that the county board can elect to do that, though.
They certainly could.
Yeah, and so
If you thought that not enough information was provided and you needed more information, then you certainly could.
yeah, and based off the individual who basically stated that they had additional information, I'm just feeling that I think that our due diligence to the residents of this county, that we, at least before we make a concrete decision, to send it back to the committee to have them kind of rethink out the process and allow them an opportunity to engage whatever information they gave us this morning that they felt that was left out.
Thank you. Mr. Featherling?
10. Mr. Chairman, a lot of discussion took place in the meeting. We discussed it for quite a while. It's one of the calls that the ZBA and the PZA and the village or the county board are for, is that sometimes things don't work. You know, it's not going to work. So I made a motion to deny it. So we were waiting for a second, right?
No, we have first and a second.
Okay.
Okay. Andrade?
And the discussion's
no?
over.
Okay. I guess we'll do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. I guess roll call.
And an aye vote is to deny the motion. An aye vote is to deny the. Mr. Hess. Mrs. Polk. Mr. Snipes.
Nay.
Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield. Aye. Mr. Carrico. Aye. Mr. Eckhoff. Aye. Mr. Swanson. Aye. Mr. Featherling. Aye. Mr. Miller. Aye. Mr. Long. Aye. Mr. Kirkstra. Aye. Mr. Hunter. Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster. Aye. Ms. Andrade. Aye. Ms. Armour Earps. Aye. Mr. Ashcraft. Aye. Ms. Monday.
Aye, because a fence can be put up along the red area.
Mr. Scanlon. Ms. Turner. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion to deny.
Motion to deny. Motion carries. Next we have ZBA case 23-09.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois regarding ZBA case 23-09, rezoning from R2 High Density Residential District to C2 General Commercial District in Section 26 of Manteno Township.
Do you want a motion?
Yeah, I'll do a motion. Can I have a motion to accept Long with the first, Fairfield with the second? Any questions? Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Yeah. Would you like me to talk about it?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
first.
This is the old administration building on the Manteno State Hospital campus, also known as the Diversitech campus. owned by Midland State Bank and being purchased by the Vintage Purse Museum NFP. This building, I think it's a 3-story building, all brick, started out its life as the administration center for the hospital. Then when that failed, it went through a few other office uses and was previously, most recently, the Midland State Bank corporate offices. The Vintage Purse Museum, while there was another case about 2 years ago, a group wanted to turn this into multifamily housing. So instead of the industrial that the entire area is zoned out there, this got zoned to R2 high density residential for that purpose. Now they're requesting that we change the zoning from the high density residential to C2 commercial to allow for a vintage purse museum. Zoning board voted 5-0 to approve, and PZA concurred with their recommendation.
Any questions for Dell? Okay, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have ZBA case 23-10.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois regarding ZBA case 23-10. Variances to section 121-396.4 digital sign, 121-396.4A size, and 121-394.4C setback in section 36 of Rockville Township.
Can I have a motion and a second to approve? Eckhoff with the first, Andrade with the second.
Mr. Chair, not everything was approved by recommendation, so the setback was not recommended.
Setback, okay. Then can I have a motion and a second to take that off the table? Eckhoff and then Andrade. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. I'll let Dell talk first.
Oh, okay. All right. This is a request for 3 variances, as the chairman spoke about, for People's Church at 644 North 1000 West Road in Rockville Township. There's an existing sign out front. It's a static sign, so that you basically the message doesn't change, except they do have letters that they can move around on it. They would like to install a digital sign in the same location as that current sign. The ordinance does not allow for illuminated lighted signs, and a digital sign is a lighted sign, so that's one of the variances that they're asking for. Another variance is for size. The current sign, which we cannot find a permit for, so we're not sure how it got there, is about 40 or 48 square feet, and the new sign would be about the same size. The ordinance limits signs for churches at 16 square feet, so they're asking for a variance for a larger sign than's allowed. And the current sign is also set back about 6 feet or so from the right-of-way, and it's required to be 10 feet from the right-of-way, so they're asking for a setback variance. ZBA voted 3-1 for this, which made no recommendation as they did not have 4 concurring votes. Planning and zoning looked at it, and they decided to recommend approval for the size and the illumination, but deny the setback because of the future widening of Career Center Road. Eventually that road is going to be at least 3 lanes, if not 5. And it could, now is the time for them to move their sign back to the appropriate location. If you allow them to go forward here, then the taxpayers, when we eventually widen that road, will have to foot the bill for moving that sign. So it's recommended approval on the size and illumination, recommend denial on the setback.
Okay, can I have a motion and a second for the approval of the size and illumination, but not for the setback? A motion by Eckhoff, second by Scanlon. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, questions? Okay. Snipes?
My understanding is there's a sign already on the property.
Correct.
It's not, but the setback, they're asking to move it.
No, they would like to build the new sign in the exact location of the existing sign, which does not meet setbacks.
So if we didn't move that sign, or that sign was still there, who would foot the bill if they was going to widen the road?
The taxpayers.
So technically, they're not forcing the taxpayers to pay anything. It's just there's a sign that's up.
Well,
It's been placed there. It's been there for how long?
I have no idea.
We have no idea. So they're saying we just want to put a sign back in the spot where it's already located.
Mm-hmm.
And we're saying, well, we want you to move the sign and we'll approve it. It doesn't,
They're going to be investing thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars most likely in this new sign. Why would we want to move it in 5 or 6 years? They should put it in a location now that would accommodate. Also, they were unable to prove that there was a legitimate reason why they couldn't meet the setback by moving the sign. So there was no hardship, finding of fact number 1, that the planning and zoning found. So if you look at your findings of fact, they found no hardship because there's no pipelines in the way, there's no physical features on that property as to why they can't move the sign back.
but their economic hardship, you're saying
Economics is not a hardship when it comes to zoning, sir.
Well, my question is this. The sign is already there. It's, all they're saying is we want to put up in the same spot and illuminate, and we're saying 5 years down the line, there may be a widening of the road that's going to cost the taxpayers, and so we're going to deny this sign based upon some future event.
No, the motion is to approve the sign, just not in that location.
That's what I'm saying. So if they wanted that location, so we ultimately denying them that location and saying you can put it any place else within our guidelines, but just not
As
right
it should
there.
be, yes. It should be placed within our guidelines. That's what the zoning
Right, but
guidelines
the
are
thing
for.
is this is up, and it's an existing one. So I am one that says that if it's existing, this grandfather, since we have no idea when this was there, we have no idea if it was there before our zoning laws came to effect, because we have no.
No, it definitely was not.
Well, if
The
it
church
wasn't-
there, so I can't imagine they put up
Then
a
if it
sign without
wasn't,
the
then
church.
some kind of way they got this built and we let it happen. So now we're saying we want to move. I'm going to say at the church or whatever that they should be able to put it there. And if that comes up, then there can be a talk. Or we can find some ARPA money to help them move it. But at this particular point, they're asking to put it in the location that it is. So therefore, if that's where the church, the sign is at the church, I'm not going to personally deny them the right to put it right where it's already existed, and nobody ever complained about it till today.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Number 9, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delbert, didn't the church, one of the congregation members come to PZA and state that they would go ahead and move the sign back, and they have no problem with that?
I believe they have reservations about
So-
that location. Now, they have not officially told me that, but I believe at PZA they mentioned that they did not realize that road would be widened.
Correct.
And they don't want to have to move their sign again.
Correct.
Anyway,
And-
regardless of who pays for it. So,
Exactly. So,
yes.
please watch the meetings. Thank you.
So
Mrs. Andrade?
Is this the same one that we couldn't find the permit either for them?
We cannot find a record of a permit. I don't know that it wasn't just included when they built the church somehow.
And,
It wasn't listed on that permit, or if they just put it up. I
and
do
if
not
I
know.
remember correctly, wasn't it not right in the spot because of it's too close to the road? Am I correct?
That's what the setback's for.
Yeah.
Yes, it's too close to the road.
Okay, Miss Monday?
Once again, this is about following the rules. And there's a rule in place with an appropriate setback. And, again, this can be a can of worms if we start letting people just put signs wherever they want to put them. There's a
Exactly.
rule in place for a specific reason, and we have to abide by that. Thank you, Mr.
That's what a
Chairman.
hardship is. That's what you're looking for on a variance. That they have to have a hardship, which is a concrete reason why they must be allowed to vary from the law.
And there is no hardship, correct?
Other than it might cost them a little more at this point in time because they got to move the electric back. There would be a cost to that.
But again, financial
is not a
is
hardship.
not a hardship.
We're talking about
Correct.
physical hardships on the property. Something something existing on that property preventing them from meeting
Right.
the regulation.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else a first time? Okay. Voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Next up, we have ZBA case 23-11. Can I have a motion and a second? Okay, I'll let Dan read it first.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois regarding ZBA case 23-11, rezoning from R1 Single Family Residential District to C2 General Commercial District in Section 2 of Limestone Township.
Can I have a motion and a second for approval, along with the first, Swanson with the second, and then Dell, if you have anything to say.
All right, yeah, this is located at 2450 West State Route 17 in Limestone Township. Those of you who are familiar with the area probably remember it as the Panazzo Fruit Market vegetable stand. It hasn't been there for quite a few years actually. Mr. Tony Glazik owns it, and I think he has owned it since it was a vegetable stand, and has turned it into a feed store and sale of sheds and some other retail uses. And he's asking, it's currently zoned R1 residential. He's asking for it to be rezoned to general commercial to bring it into compliance with the uses that it's actually being used as. And he'd also like to expand the building and the business on the property. Zoning board voted 4-0 to approve, and PZA concurred with them.
Any questions for Dell? Okay, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Next up, we have executive.
Provision of insurance addendum to intergovernmental agreement between the County of Kankakee and the Kankakee Regional Land Bank.
Okay. Do I have a motion and a second to approve? Monday and Carrico with the second. Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Hess. Mrs. Polk.
Present.
Mr. Snipes. Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield. Mr. Carrico. Mr. Eckhoff. Mr. Swanson. Mr. Featherling. Mr. Miller. Mr. Long. Mr. Kirkstra. Mr. Hunter. Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster. Ms. Andrade. Ms. Armour Earps. Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Monday. Mr. Scanlon. Ms. Turner. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have finance.
Ordinance of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois regarding amendments to the annual budget and appropriation ordinance for Kankakee County, Illinois, the 2022-2023 fiscal year.
Do I have a motion and a second to approve? First Eckhoff, second Swanson. And are there any questions for Mr. McCarty? Roll call.
Mr. Hess. Mrs. Polk.
Brett. Yes.
Mr.
Aye.
Snipes. Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield. Mr. Carrico. Mr. Eckhoff. Mr. Swanson. Mr. Featherling. Mr. Miller. Mr. Long. Mr. Kirkstra. Mr. Hunter. Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster. Ms. Andrade. Ms. Armour Earps. Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Monday. Mr. Scanlon. Ms. Turner. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois, authorizing the County Board Chairman to execute a renewal agreement with DevNet Incorporated.
Can I have a motion and a second to approve? First Long, second Fairfield. Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Hess. Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes. Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield. Mr. Carrico. Mr. Eckhoff. Mr. Swanson. Mr. Featherling. Mr. Miller. Mr. Long. Mr. Kirkstra. Mr. Hunter. Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster. Ms. Andrade. Ms. Armour Erps. Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Monday. Mr. Scanlon. Ms. Turner. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois, authorizing the extension of the contract with Flock Safety for a 2-year period.
Can I have a motion and a second? First Long, second Ashcraft. Roll call. Any questions? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Hess. Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes. Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield. Mr. Kirko. Mr. Eckhoff. Mr. Swanson. Mr. Featherling. Mr. Miller. Mr. Long. Mr. Kirkstra. Mr. Hunter. Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster. Ms. Andrade. Ms. Armour Erps. Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Monday. Mr. Scanlon. Ms. Turner. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois regarding setting the per diem for judges of election.
Can I have a motion and a second? First Hunter, second Kirko. Any questions for Dan? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Hess. Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes. Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield. Mr. Kirko. Mr. Eckhoff. Mr. Swanson. Mr. Featherling. Mr. Miller. Mr. Long. Mr. Kirkstra. Mr. Hunter. Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster. Ms. Andrade. Ms. Armour Erps. Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Monday. Mr. Scanlon. Ms. Turner. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up, we have ARPA.
You want to combine and approve all of these in one shot?
Yeah, can I have a motion and a second to combine and approve? Featherling first, Andrade second. All those in favor say aye. Or question by okay. Okay.
What?
Do I have to take off the motion or?
We can do them separately.
We'll do them separately.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois, authorizing the expenditures of America Rescue Plan Act funds, Fund Fiscal Year 2023, Fund 98, Bright Architecture for Circuit Clerk Remodel.
Motion by Mr. Hunter, second by Eckhoff. Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Hess. Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes. Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield. Mr. Kirko. Mr. Eckhoff. Mr. Swanson. Mr. Featherling. Mr. Miller. Mr. Long. Mr. Kirkstra. Mr. Hunter. Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster. Ms. Andrade. Ms. Armour Erps. Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Monday. Mr. Scanlon. Ms. Turner. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois, authorizing the expenditures of America Rescue Plan Act funds, Fund Fiscal Year 2023, Fund 98, Kankakee County Sheriff's Department, Old Jail.
Can I have a motion and a second? First Long, second Andrade. Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Hess. I'm sorry. Okay. Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes. Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield. Mr. Kirko. Mr. Eckhoff. Mr. Swanson. Mr. Featherling. Mr. Miller. Mr. Long. Mr. Kirkstra. Mr. Hunter. Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster. Ms. Andrade. Ms. Armour Erps. Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Monday. Mr. Scanlon. Ms. Turner. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois, authorizing expenditure from fiscal year 2023 Fund 95 America Rescue Plan Fund to the Helen Wheeler Center for Social Service Programming.
Can I have a motion and a second to accept? Hunter first, Monday second.
Making that motion, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, no problem.
There was quite a bit of discussion regarding this particular request, and this particular matter is crucial to the citizens of the county. This particular authorization will enable the Helen Wheeler Mental Health Center to be able to compete with some of our neighbors to the north. Oftentimes, individuals who reside here can be compensated at a higher rate by traveling up north for employment. This will enable us to compete in large part with our neighbors to the north of retaining the skill sets that we need for Helen Wheeler. Inasmuch as Representative Haas is here, if she could make some general statements regarding what these funds will do and facilitate and enhance the quality of services to be provided to our citizens.
Yes, you can come up here, Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you. I know I'm happy to address any questions related to this request. As the narrative suggests, we certainly expect that with the expansion of the social service grants that have been written and being the designated community mental health center by the state, that we anticipate having an increased volume coming in and expect that we will have to expand our therapeutic case clinicians that we have on staff. And again, as Mr. Hunter indicated, one of our biggest challenges is finding a workforce that we are able to compensate at a competitive level. So anticipating the increased volume with the other social service programs that have been funded through the county, we anticipate having more volume. We will need to increase our staff size and be able to be competitive in compensating them. We also anticipate with our current relationships with other folks in the county, we work with the probation, we work with the jail, we're already embedded there, anticipate seeing an increase in referrals from those sources as well. We know that we don't want to have a higher cost for folks that are inappropriately perhaps served in places that they shouldn't be. So we want to make sure that we're serving them appropriately with mental health services as well. So, yeah.
Any more questions? Mr. Snipes?
I know the Helen Wheeler Foundation, when we have Aunt Martha's and some of the other individuals, when we look at the sustainability of this, once the ARPA money is depleted, do you foresee the state or other areas, because unfortunately, the voters turned down the mental health services, but my biggest concern is not just a swap, but a sustainability past the ARPA monies. Do you have any foresight into the future for sustainability purposes?
Well, I wish I had a crystal ball to look into the future, but no, absolutely. Sustainability is always the biggest issue, right? So most of the people that I anticipate being referred in will likely be Medicaid eligible. We treat Medicaid individuals and those that are Medicaid eligible. So our case managers focus on getting those folks, get those applications for Medicaid. We work diligently to get them approved. So that will be another funding source that will sustain those services in the future. And that's not just for the behavioral health services. These are individuals that need that Medicaid approved for them so that they can get that primary care as well.
Counseling and all.
Counseling, mental health services, in addition to that primary care that will be funded then by their Medicaid benefits.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Mr. Hunter?
Thank you very much. And also had extensive discussions with Representative House regarding the composition of her workforce. This will enable her to enhance the diversity of her employment pool. So people look like me and look like Andrade will have an opportunity to seek employment. When you think in terms of the increased number of Hispanic individuals in the county, it will afford her an opportunity to provide bilingual staff, for the services to be provided. And also, as I indicated, people look like me, and she was affirmative in that particular response. All we're doing is providing her with additional tools to compete with the neighbors up north.
Thank you. Any more questions? Ms. Foster?
Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment. I'm familiar with Helen Wheeler, and they did a great job. Also, I'm sure, Jackie, you are aware of the fact that our state's attorney, Jim Rowe, has opened up an office in Hopkins Park, which would be available for staff to be there to do counseling, because one of the issues have always been transportation and getting people from the Hopkins Park or the eastern part of the county to Kankakee for counseling.
Yes, definitely. And I think that would be a great opportunity for some of the folks that we bring on. We've done that before. We've co-located in different locations. We've been in the Riverside building as well. And this would be a great opportunity. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, roll call. Thank you.
Chairman, I need to bring something up.
Okay.
The sustainability part of this is really key, because we know we're going to have these issues going forward. We just don't have the providers to be able to deal with the problem. So that is why we engaged a grant writer on the front end of this to go after grants that the county is eligible for to feed the system, but they'll also be looking for grants that the not-for-profit side is eligible for that can also feed this. And we're going to focus in on what's working. We want to reduce recidivism. We want to make sure that when people are being released, they're in a position to be able to access medication and services. So it's not just, let's throw some money at this and see what happens. It's actually trying to build something that's sustainable, when it's very difficult to say that is something, at least for this population, exists within the county. So that's a primary focus for me, and really the group that we talked about when we were vetting this. That's why it took so long. The other thing I wanted to mention is, I forgot to mention this because I've been ill, but after the meeting, we noticed that we did not put funding in for mental health first aid training, and every time somebody gets certified in that, it costs $40. If we are going to be asking the Helen Wheeler Center to do this, I think that at least we could do would be to add another 20,000 onto this, to get either 1,000 people at 50-50 or 500 people paying the amount of that. So I will throw it to the committee if somebody else feels that there needs to be a motion to amend on that side of things. I just don't want to have that expectation out there that they're going to be doing mental health first aid training as it says in the program, when we didn't actually include that funding there.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Ms. Parker?
Yes, I would like to amend the motion.
Ms. Parker with the first, Fairfield with the second. Do we do a roll call for that? Yes. Roll call. Or any questions? Okay. Snipes.
I have no objection to what we're doing as far as approving the ARPA money as stated. But while I do hear what Chairman Willis is talking about, I also want to proceed with caution in that everything is vetted through a process. And so I don't want to just add money to something at the last minute. It should go back to that particular committee and then bring it back to us. And the reason so is because I believe we asked Rincon or whoever to deal with social services. So if we're going to do that, we need to open up the process fairly through the process that we already have established. So for that reason and that reason alone, I think that we need to send this back. We need to not amend the motion or take the motion back, send it back to the committee, that'll bring it back to the board, to give it back to the people that we supposedly put as the umbrella into place, and not at the last minute to kind of put $20,000 up in there. We haven't done that at the last minute before. We send it back to committee. So to do that now at a $20,000 level, I think we would have some reservations, and I don't want to vote no to this, but I will have to vote no unless we go through the same process that we already put in place. So the original that you had before us, yes, but you did not give us this to put on the agenda beforehand. So to amend that motion, now I would have to vote no. I'll vote yes to the original, but not at the last moment. Even the county board says that we need to be made privy of this before we come in, not at the last moment.
Mr. Hunter, the first time.
Snipes, with all due respect, you may recall what Chairman Wheeler indicated regarding vetting this particular request. I do remember those individuals who are on the evaluation team, that this matter came up, not just coming up tonight or this morning for adding additional $20,000. This has been thoroughly discussed through the vetting process and with the evaluation team. So it's not something at the last minute, 11th hour. I was glad to hear that Chairman Wheeler brought that back up, because it jarred my memory with respect to this matter having been discussed and the undue hardship that was being placed upon Helen Wheeler. If those individuals who recall what Chairman Wheeler indicated during a vetting process, could I just see a raise of hands who were there? Amber, and so it's a fair statement that I made regarding this is not just a new discussion, an addition, an addendum. It's something that we failed to articulate initially.
Thank you. Mr. Wheeler?
Yeah, I was going to suggest the same thing. The whole review committee is pretty much there except for Mrs. Weber. I will take responsibility for not remembering it in the finance committee meeting, 3.5 weeks ago, but this is the first opportunity since then to bring it back up as far as a full board goes. And I'm sure that the finance committee meeting video wasn't watched. So I guess I'm comfortable with moving on and would offer the question on the motion to amend.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Did you have your hand up?
Yes, actually I did. And then Mr. Wheeler explained everything. I totally agree with what Mr. Hunter and Mr. Wheeler both said. We have to remember we're in a mental health crisis in this county, and we need to get people trained and ready to go. I don't think that we need to go back and review this at all. I trust the vetting team. So I go ahead with my motion to approve.
We already had a motion by Parker and Fairfield to amend and add the 20,000 for mental health first aid. So any more questions? I guess Snipes?
Voice vote.
Or voice vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign.
Well, you still have to honor, because my hand was up, and then take the vote. We're talking about spending money.
No, that's a motion.
No,
to
we're not
amend.
doing that yet. That's next.
So I had a question on the motion.
Learn the rules.
We're talking about spending money, so we had a vote.
Do I
Respond.
Mr. Snipes, the motion to amend is appropriate on a voice vote. Then the motion to spend the money, which will be on the amended motion, on the amended resolution, that will be that's actually spending the money, and that will be a roll call vote.
Well, I knew that, but what I had was on that motion because we're taking something out of kind of context and against our bylaws when we're talking about putting it as an action item before this particular board. On today, the original one is where we were set to approve. You have added into that an additional amount of funding, which is an action item, which we are, well, I'm taking blast. I don't care who else had committee meetings before this, but we generally have a procedure which we follow, and we're now doing this. We're gonna do this, then be prepared to do it for anybody else that comes up asking for ARPA money, and they say we want additional funding. You all sent them back and said that they would have to reapply and put that in. Now, this wonderful committee that came together said it was an oversight, they didn't put it in there. It shouldn't be any problem to add the $20,000 later when you present it back to the board, but not sitting on this particular board. We are now operating against our own bylaws, which tells us that this should have been put before us and nothing within 4 days of for an action item.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to point out the fact that the county board are the ones that required mental health first aid training for all social service recipient organizations. So we're going to require it, yet we're not going to give them the money. So I would say that I feel comfortable moving forward in this in both a procedural and an ethical manner.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
No, I agree with Chairman Wheeler that the issue is on the agenda. The addition basically it amounts to a Scrivener's error in that the amount was not amended when the county had already approved adding that fee, so that it is appropriate now to change the resolution to include the $20,000 and then vote on that total amount
Okay, we already had a motion to amend, so now do we have a motion and a second to add the addition of the $20,000? First by Scanlon, second by Swanson.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
We already have a motion and
Okay.
a second.
Yeah, I already did by Hunter and Monday. Okay. Any questions? Hunter?
Comment real quick again. What we did, this particular matter, the 20K was approved, candidly, by the evaluation team. It's not something new we're just bringing up here this morning. So it's not again, I'm being redundant, it's not at the 11th hour, and we're not establishing a precedent because the 20K was approved like anything else through the evaluation team and brought forward eventually to the full board for consideration. So we're not establishing a precedent whatsoever. It was vetted, and you saw the individuals who raised their hand who were on the evaluation team recall that Chairman Wheeler brought this up, and we said yes during the evaluation meeting. Again, it's not something new. We're not adding something at the 11th hour. It was just a faux pas on our part in terms of articulating this again. So
Agreed. Thank you. Mr. Snipes?
Well, I appreciate the evaluation team. The evaluation team is just phenomenal, this particular board, along with going through the finance committee. What they approved is what we were supposed to approve today. To basically take things out of precedent and put saying it's a scrivener's error, the whole 9 yards, should have been called.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Snipes has already had the microphone a second time.
No, because you just turned around and dealt with another issue.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. You must rule on the point of order first.
Thank you. Okay, can we have a roll call vote on 207 for the addition of $20,000? We already have, or for the full, yes, full resolution. Okay, for $320,000.
404,273.
400. Okay, 404,273. No, you're all good. Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Hess. Mrs. Polk. Mr. Snipes. Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield. Mr. Carrico. Mr. Eckhoff. Mr. Swanson. Mr. Featherling. Mr. Miller. Mr. Long. Mr. Kirkstra. Mr. Hunter. Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Foster. Ms. Andrade. Ms. Armour Earps. Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Monday. Mr. Scanlon. Ms. Turner. Mr. Wheeler.
Motion carries. He's on Zoom. Okay. Next up we have openings.
That was aye for me, Dan.
One opening on the McGillivray Special Drainage District, one opening on the Cabery Area Fire Protection District, one opening on the Kankakee County Housing Authority, one opening on the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee for a veterinarian, one opening on the BM Lewis Drainage District, one opening on the Canavan Drainage District, one opening on the Clawson Park Drainage District, one opening on the Exline Creek Drainage District, one opening on the Gar Creek Drainage District, one opening on the Little Beaver Special Drainage District, one opening on the Mantino Drainage District number 9, one opening on the Minnie Creek Drainage District, one opening on the Momence Yellowhead Drainage District number 1, one opening on the Raymond Drainage District, one opening on the Snake Creek Drainage District, one opening on the Yellowhead Washington Union Drainage District number 2, two openings on the Union Drainage District number 2, two openings on the Rockville Drainage District number 1, two openings on the Momence Pembroke Union Drainage District number 1, two openings on the Kankakee County Public Building Commission, 5 openings on the Sheriff Merit Commission, and 6 openings on the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Is there any new business? Any old business? Here. Miss Monday?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like for the board members here to understand that I've decided at this moment that I'm not going to take any legal action and do a quo warranto against District 18, Mr. Snipes, for not living in his district, simply because I do not want to cost the county board any money to do this. However, that doesn't say that I may never do it. But at this moment, I'm not going to. I want you to be aware that Mr. Snipes has been dishonest with us yet again when he made statements at the last meeting about paying his real estate taxes and mowing his lawn. Those are all very inaccurate statements. I did Freedom of Information Act, and I have a lot of paperwork that proves otherwise. And yet he takes a stipend every month from the county for attending meetings and owes real estate taxes, which are now late for at least 2 installments. So I'm asking Mr. Snipes yet again to resign. And if he doesn't resign immediately, at least please do not run for that seat again. Let District 18 be represented by someone that cares about following the rules and living in their district, taking care of their home, mowing their lawn, removing their rubbish. And yes, while we can all own property anywhere we want to own it, as Mr. Snipes eloquently pointed out, even in Canada, we must live physically in our district. So I'm asking again for his immediate resignation. And if he doesn't, it's still good news for the people in District 18 because he cannot run for re-election because he does not live in his district. So thank you.
Mr. Snipes?
Allow me to say this and say it because I want all the people that open up your aggrandized mouth to visit 4 Illinois Supreme Court cases. Allow me to also tell you, you don't tell me where I live, and you don't speak for the people of District 18. Where were you when the shootings and things happened? Did they call you or me? I'm sure me. Matter of fact, in this county, before folks, if they're not calling on the Lord Jesus Christ, they're probably talking to Mr. Snipes because I work on and behalf of the people. 1371, and as far as saying my taxes are late, they're never past a year. I just pay them when I pay them. So I'm glad you decided to go look, but you don't have anything as far as saying my grass is not cut, it's cut now. So I don't know what property you looking at. I don't have to turn around and prove anything. If you got a quote warrant tow, I want you to bring it so that we can turn around and put you and others under oath so that we can turn around and expose the lies. Now, on October the 12th, I will come here, show me your information, or matter of fact, we'll just forward it. But for you to turn around and stalk me for 21 days, had I did that to you, I'd have been on the front page of every newspaper. However, did you know that there are 2 Robert Snipes that were where you stated I was at an establishment? One from North Carolina and one from here. So the one from here, it says 1371. 30 years I've been there, and I have no intentions. The Supreme Court case, unlike Mr. Rowley said, you were at a residence at a hotel of 30 days. That's not what the residence states. My intent is where I live. What distinguishes me, and it wasn't no hypocrisy since you opened up the can of worms, is my permanent abode is 1371. For you to come up here with a bunch of lies and then tell me what District 18 get, lady, you need to find something else to do with your life. The other thing that sets me apart is that I never moved out of my district and claimed another residency like Mr. Wheeler. He did not stay there the 30-day requirement because he left on November 6th. November 10th, you had him before the county board could ever declare the vacancy. So when you're talking about Mr. Snipes was bombastic, you're saying that I'm talking loud saying nothing, but in fact, we failed as a county board to follow 2511. We failed to follow the Illinois Supreme Court, and we failed, I have the floor, and we failed to follow since you brought this up. So my thing is, on October the 12th, I'm going to show you where, as the county board says, we follow rules, that you don't even follow your own rules. And don't tell me where I live. I decide where I live, not this county board.
Mr. Long?
Go. I would.
Okay.
So, I'm done.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I have a motion to adjourn.
First, okay, Mr. Hunter.
Yeah, if we could, and I was really proud of this county board, and I think it epitomized what transpired last Friday. If we could have Chairman Wheeler to just give a brief synopsis of what transpired last Friday up at the Kmart building regarding the new initiative that all of us concurred with, and I was so really proud of all the governmental units who took the appropriate action for the new company that's going to be located at the Kmart building in Manteno. Chairman Wheeler.
Mr. Wheeler.
I'd love to be able to respond and perform on cue, Steve, but I would start hacking in a moment. So can we save this till next month?
Well, anybody else who was there?
I have a motion to adjourn by Ms. Andrade, a second by Long. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign.